All right. I have a lot of conservative people on my Facebook that share, let's just say, slightly dubious links. So I thought I'd start covering maybe a series of videos how to spot bad news reporting and biased news reporting, since it seems to be an issue. So this is the link we most recently saw. So we pop in and we see it's the Daily Wire. You can always go to the Daily Wire and look kind of at what stories they have, and you can kind of get an idea that there's a little bit of a bias here. You can see, Shapiro is Ben Shapiro's show. He's right wing. You can see conservative actors, and then blast you out left. Now they're gonna cry. It's just this sort of thing. Um, yeah. So you can just sort of see that's a right wing sort of thing. So now we can go back to the actual Daily Wire. You can see this is written by Jacob Irely, so you can kind of scroll through these stories that he does. You can see things like PC alert and these pictures, and this woman prevented a man's suicide. What happens next is amazing. And if a place is promoting something that would be considered clickbait, this is absolutely clickbait. I don't find them to be a credible news source because they're worried more about the clicks than the story. And you can have a compelling uh, article title. That's not a problem. This is clickbait. If you say what happened next is amazing, that's just trying to force people to click. It's clickbait, and it really lowers the overall quality of your news site. So let's go back to this. Man of the people, Barack Obama's most expensive ex-president ever. So, um, man of the people obviously is trying to do a dig there. Next is the picture. This is an obviously biased picture. It's a picture of Obama on the golf course, which was a common meme among Republicans. Uh, I, it's just amazing to me they still have the balls to put like a golfing picture up of a previous president compared to Trump at this point. But there you have it. And then, of course, within the first sentence, you can obviously spot a a very large bias. Former President Hussein. This is the first clue right there. You don't. They don't refer to other presidents by their middle name. They'll do middle initial for Bushes because there's two of them, George W. Bush and H. W. Bush, but they'll never, you know, William Jefferson Clinton. That barely ever gets written out. So they'll just do Bill Clinton. Um, so the reason they have the Hussein in there is just it's a right wing dog whistle because his name sounds like he might be a Muslim, which also ironically was what the conservatives claimed for most of his presidency. Still do, I think. So that's the reason that's in there. And then of course rhetoric of hope and change was nothing more than pandering to his left wing base. Obviously that's a very biased sentence there. He and the first lady have become the most expensive ex-president in modern history. And then you go, Stephen Dinan of the Washington Post writes, and then you're like, whoa, 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 hold on, the Washington Post. Well, that's actually a credible news source. That's good. They'll probably have some great writing on it. So the first thing you do is always try and track back, because especially with the right wings, they will um, post a lot of very, very fringe, and the left wing has a few of them too, that will post fringe reporting. So always track it back to the original source. I never even bother with the rest of these news stories. I just run it back to the source. So you say, wow, the Washington Post. That's pretty intense. That's a good link. And then you pop it open, and oh hey, this says the Washington Times. And you go back here and go, huh, that was either intentional, where he was trying to piggyback off of the Washington Post being a respected, journalistic outlet, or it was just sloppy reporting on his part, where he meant to do the Washington Times instead of the Washington Post, because those are two very different news sources. So a mistake like that, if it is a mistake, is fairly costly for his reputation and its Daily Wire reputation. So let's go to the Washington Times. So, boom. So say there's a source. According to a new Congressional Research Service memo, looking for the official answers for the 5 living former chief executives. So, and you're clicking on this, you're like, they don't have a link to this Congressional Research memo, and you scroll through, and they don't have a link. Oh, they don't have a link anywhere in here. It's all Jimmy Carter. All these Carter ones are just to their topic of Jimmy Carter for whatever reason. So, so there's actually no linked source. Well, you're saying, well, maybe it's only available on paper, which is hard to believe at this point, but hey, might be possible. So what you do here is you say, well, maybe we can Google around and find that. I don't like news sources that don't include a link to something. Even if it's just available offline, a lot of sources will post a picture of it or digitize it themselves as long as a congressional research memo. It's not like this is a secret leaked information. This is an official document. It should be available online. If it's not, they shouldn't have any legal problems reprinting it. So this is a bad start for this. So we start Googling around and we kind of find a few PDFs that list previous presidents because this is from 2016 and this report is from 2016 and this shows the 2015 costs. So and you can see George W. Bush 420 and 2015 fiscal year. I don't know what the government fiscal year runs, but that would be something you'd have to look up. So you kind of run this back and you say, in this one, they say that his Dallas office space is 497,000, where it was 420,000 before. Yeah, rates went up. That makes sense. So, and you can kind of see where they all have their different things. I don't know where exactly in New York William J. Clinton has an 8,300 square foot office for 414,000 in 2015. That is some amazing deal he is getting, or maybe it's in a very cheap part of New York. So, so you can look at that and say, well, it seems feasible. We still can't find their official source. You can keep scrolling and looking through all these PDF after PDF. And so this is stored at fas.org, so you can go directly to the source and then you can start searching in here. Obama living allowance. And of course, a lot of this is from 2016, and they would have been getting theirs from 2017. A lot of these are 2017. So you can click on there, and you can look at this and say former presidents, pensions, and you say, oh, hey, look, this is actually from March 16, 2016. So you actually can't really find, so you can start searching for Obama, and you can scroll through. You can see Obama asked for increases, etc., for all the past presidents, but you can't find anything that really shows. It all shows about his anticipated transition, nothing about his, and it shows he received appropriations for 3,277 for expenditures for all former presidents. So. And it just does a little bit with that, and it does show again the FY 2015. It does not show any of the new one. So as you can see, and there's that again. This is the exact same report that we had before. So it's something like that. So you're like, well, maybe someone else has a source. So you go into the full coverage in Google News, and you just start clicking through these one after another. And you realize, hey, they're all sourcing the Washington Times, the Washington Times, the Washington Times. This is something else entirely, the Washington Times, and so on and so forth. So suddenly wondering, well, I can't actually find their source because they didn't actually post it, which is extremely irresponsible. But like I said, the Washington Times, not exactly an unbiased source. But here's the thing, you don't know that it's fake, you just can't find it. But it starts to concern you when you realize that all of these right wing websites, like one after another, after another, after another, after another, all posted their thing without none of them had the source to the actual memo as well. It seems like they're taking all of their information from the Washington Times. So that's something to think about if you can't find it. Um, the other thing is, if you actually dig into it, um, he requested a budget of 1.153 million. It's literally $100,000 higher than George W. Bush's request. So George W. Bush, you can see his office cost, according to them, $497,000 for Dallas, and Obama's office cost $536,000, which that's $38,000 right there. So that's a good chunk of it. So Washington, D.C. is one of the most expensive places to live in the U.S., although New York also seems like that'd be a massive place. Although it looks like they have his current one listed at 518, so his rent went up significantly. So it's close to Obama's cost. So you can see how they um, distorted the numbers a little bit, because if you look back to the original one, most expensive, and um, you realize it's $100,000 higher because he's going to be living and working in DC, is probably one of the largest factors of that increased cost. And $100,000 over $1 million is not a whole lot of money, comparatively, obviously. So it's just things like this that you got to really try and dig into the numbers and see where they lead. Unfortunately, we can't dig fully into it because they actually don't have it sourced correctly.